Somalians who cross the border and come to Kenya and fly to abroad, they all have Kenyan passports. Did you ever sit down and ask yourself, how do they manage to get Kenyan passports? Na wewe kama Mkenya halisi, it is difficult for you to obtain that document. Let us celebrate Kenya.
Now pause for a moment. What you just heard is not only a statement, it is a question about identity, belonging, and trust. Kenya is a nation built at the crossroads of history, migration, and colonial borders. Many African countries were shaped by lines that never followed communities, languages, or ancestral lands. So conversations about passports and nationality are never just about documents. They are about who feels seen, protected, and included. But here is why this matters, because belonging is not only cultural, it is also about access to jobs, access to housing, access to opportunity. And whenever people feel that access is uneven, frustration grows. Not because people hate each other, but because people fear being left behind. This is not only a debate about who belongs, it is a deeper question about how systems work, who benefits, and whether they are trusted. And trust is the true foundation of any nation. Now, to understand the historical side of this conversation, let's listen to the next voice.
There was an attempt actually to rewrite and rubbish the history of the Somali community and their contribution to the making of the nation state of the Republic of Kenya. That of the first British or the Kenya-Uganda railway. Do you know the first people who built that railway? We only know the Indian coolies. The other groups were the Somali, the British Somalilanders. The British Somalilanders, those are the people who founded Parklands, Isli, part of Thika. I just want to take you to Thika here. The famous Ali Kabati. He was one of the longest serving councillors in the history of Kenya. If you find the history, you will find that he was the owner of a big chunk of land from Pangani all the way to Gatundu, including even where right now Safari Park actually sits. So once you are familiar with the history of this is why we have so many centers. Start from Isiolo. Isiolo is a product of the first Somali migrant, products of actually the first Somali railway builders. That's the history of Isiolo. If you go to Nyanyuki here, you will find the same. Go to Nyeri, you will find the same. I don't need to. Naivasha here, you have the Isakia community. All the way to Nakuru, Eldoret, up to Bungoma. You have had the history of Maamina. How these people came to Kenya. It's not the way that's been projected. You know, even our own history was twisted. Immediately after independence, because of the shifter menace, there was an attempt actually to rewrite and rubbish the history of the Somali community and their contribution to the making of the nation state of the Republic of Kenya. That is properly documented right now. We only need to go back to the archives. See the unbiased historical contribution of the Somali community actually in our archives, and you will appreciate that it's not the way some of the things have been projected. It's not true. And that's why proudly today, the Somalis are now the most widespread community in the world. If you go to Tel Aviv, you will find a Somali. If you go to Moscow today, you will find a Somali. If you go to Vienna, you will find a Somali. If you go and that's by the grace of God. And therefore, today, we have so many elected people of Somali descent actually in the European Parliament. All over. We have them in Canada. We have them in America. We have them in... Go to Dubai today. It's like you'll think that is another Mogadishu. Go to Vienna. Go to Brussels.
Thank you.
So I think the bit that we need to demystify is there are criminal elements in every community. Criminal element is not the title of the members of the Somali community. Criminal elements are individuals. Wherever they do, wherever they are, let criminal elements carry the attack. What is happening in America, I think it's tantamount to ethnic profiling. It's something that least expected actually in America, and we hope and pray that it's going to pass. And we understand the dynamics actually in that particular region. But in Kenya here, whatever somebody has said here, I can tell you this, and you are familiar with it. The Somali community has suffered over the years because of the shifter menace. That brief shifter menace, you are aware what has happened? How we were reduced to second-class citizen, how we were given, there was the District Contagious Act, a unique law for the members of the Somali community. We have had the Indemnity Act, a unique law for the members of the Somali community. All these things ended with the advent of multipartyism in 1991. And truly, the Somalis in Kenya here, just like the Somalis are all over. By the way, if you go to Ethiopia here, the Somalis are now the third largest community. After the Oromos and Amharas, the Somalis are now the third. The Somalis are in Djibouti. The Somalis are in Somalia. The Somalis are in Kenya here. The Somalis are in Somaliland here. These are historical facts. What can we do? There's nothing that could. There's even a Somali member of parliament, a Somali minister in Tanzania. What can we do? This is the making of the scramble for Africa. The Somalis were partitioned into different parts of Africa, and by extension, the Somalis have become now the most widespread community in the whole world. The only thing that I will tell the Somalis, wherever they are, continue being persistent, continue being resilient, continue being hardworking, and wherever they are, function in line with your traditions and the norms of those countries where you reside in.
Right, thank you.
Don't accept any intimidation.
What you have just heard reminds us of something many people forget. Africa did not begin with borders. Our nations were drawn by maps, but our communities were shaped by centuries of movement, trade, intermarriage, and shared survival. Somali families, like many African peoples, did not suddenly appear in Kenya. They are part of a much older story, one that predates independence, passports, and modern immigration laws. But history alone does not erase today's reality. Because modern cities are under pressure, housing is expensive, jobs are competitive, youth unemployment is rising, and when systems feel strained, people start asking hard questions. Who is benefiting? Who is struggling? And why? That tension is what you are seeing online. It is not simply anger, it is anxiety about the future. And now let's hear another voice that shows how quickly fear can turn into blame.
Somalis destroyed their country through civil strife in the 80s. And that country has never been the same. A country that was running well, democratically. They had clan wars, and that country was destroyed. And they became refugees, and most of them found their ways into Kenya, and out of Kenya they got a clear passage to the USA, and they were settled in Minnesota, America. But what they've been doing is, say, for the last so years, they've been found in a scandal that has milked America more than 1.7 billion US dollars. And the president of the US is pissed off with Somalis. Now he wants them out of the US. He says he don't want them. And so it's very important for a country like Kenya to safeguard our unity and to prepare ourselves to face differences. That's a key statement right there, because our differences are they pale considering what would happen if we find ourselves in a situation whereby we don't have a country that we call Kenya. Listen to what Donald Trump is talking about Somalis, and he's on his way to kick them out of the US. Asanteni.
The wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country.
It's quite ironic when people tell Somalis to go back to their country. Let me give you a lesson. Quietly, academically, and with tea on the side. So let's put the record straight. Somalis are among the oldest inhabitants of this region. Long before colonial borders, Somali clans lived, traded, and grazed across what is now the northern Kenya, the Horn. Our presence here is not recent, not borrowed. Meanwhile, Kenya as a modern state is a colonial invention of the 20th century. The British stitched it together from diverse communities, many of whom migrated here over centuries. The Kikuyu, Embu, and Meru trace their origins to migration from Central Africa. The Luo came down from the Nile region of southern Sudan. The Kalenjin and Maasai are linked to movements from the Nile Valley and North Africa. Coastal Swahili identity itself is a blend of African, Arab, and Persian migrations. So, in short, Kenya is a land built on migrations. No group can claim to be original in a vacuum. And when we check the timelines, Somali settlement in the Horn and northern Kenya predates the arrival of many groups now calling themselves gatekeepers. What are you gatekeeping? So the next time someone says, Somalis, go back, go back, go back, the answer is simple. Go back where? Where? We were here before Kenya was even Kenya. If belonging is measured by roots, movement, and contribution, then Somalis have every right, not second class, not borrowed, but the first to claim Kenya home. Respectfully, enough with the revisionist nonsense. History does not bend to slogans. Also, Palestinians have nothing to do with this fight. So, let's be factual, let's be realistic, and let's educate ourselves.
What you just heard shows how quickly frustration can turn into something more dangerous. When economies struggle, when housing becomes unreachable, when young people feel locked out of opportunity, fear looks for a target. And sometimes that target becomes an entire community. But history teaches us something important. No society has ever healed by turning neighbors into enemies. No nation has ever grown by blaming its own people. Kenya is strong because it is diverse, because it carries many roots, many stories, and many contributions. The real question is not who belongs. The real question is how systems are managed. Are housing markets fair? Are public funds protected? Are opportunities shared honestly? Those are the questions that build nations, not division, not suspicion. Africa's future will not be secured by fear. It will be secured by fairness, accountability, and unity. And that is why conversations like this matter. If this video gave you something to think about, gently tap the like button so more people can see it. Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments and subscribe to Voice of Africa for calm, honest conversations that protect dignity, truth, and progress. Until next time, stay informed, stay grounded, and always stand for unity.